I'll run you through what is termed the lower body plyometric continuum. Okay, so these are 5 stages of the continuum. First stage, known as eccentric absorption, things like tall to short landings and altitude landing, stepping off a box and absorbing, is the key to this area. This is learning how to slow down before we speed up. Concentric development, things like short jumps and sit to box jumps and box jumps themselves. We're not relying on a big landing force. We're just focusing on concentric development, pushing off the ground, okay? Jump integration, we can start to combine them. So single hurdle jumps, broad jumps, we're actually loading and landing. So we're producing concentric output and we're absorbing it. Are these jumps or are these plyometrics? Correct. The name probably gives it away, but they're single work. On to what would be deemed plyometrics. Continuous jumps. So continuous hurdle jumps, mini hurdle jumps, where we're landing, absorbing, and delivering again. Okay, both concentric and eccentric. And finally, that red one, known as shock method. Depth jumps, 3 hop for distance. So shock method was popularized by a guy called Yuri Verkhoshansky. He's almost the father of plyometrics. Over in Russia, he was training he's got a lot of jumpers, but also worked in the track and field team in general. And it's fucking cold in Russia, especially when they need to train. So he's like, well, how do I start to get all this training done, but not have to put them out in the freezing cold? This was before we have the luxury of 400-meter tracks indoors and heated scenarios. So I used to take them into the change rooms and figure out, well, how could I produce the same force that they're getting in jumps and just do it in the change room? So they literally put a box and they stepped off the box, landed, and then jumped as high as they could. And the study he did to work out how it affected them is he did a comparison of a squat jump. So down, paused, we remove that elastic tension, and then they jump. Then a counter movement jump, measure the 2 heights. Counter movement got higher, makes sense, because they have elastic. Then he put them on a box and got them higher and higher and higher, and realized that depth jump, where they step off the box, land and jump, got even higher. And the force production was high. Obviously force production high, hitting the ground harder, but he realized, hang on, they're hitting the ground harder, but these athletes are actually utilizing that kinetic energy to produce a huge jump. And it's something we can do indoors. So then he kept getting higher and higher, and he realized there's then a moment where it's too high. And that kinetic force, that energy when they hit, actually dissipates their ability to contract and they get lower. So you can actually create a really nice curve. It's a very long testing procedure with athletes, but it's probably one of the best, where you can actually put them off a 10 centimeter box, 20, 30, 40, and mark when they start to lose their increasing height, because that's their ability to tolerate that yielding force. And if you can then improve that, so let's say I'm a 50 centimeter and then I get to 55 and I get lower, well, we know that my training needs to get me to 55 or to 60. And in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, if I can get dropped off a 60 centimeter box and have a jump height higher than my 50 centimeter, we know that we've improved my ability to yield and transfer that into some kinetic or concentric energy.